Okay, let's be honest. When was the last time you listened to Michael Jackson? Not because he was playing in the background somewhere, but when you actually put him on and enjoyed it? Now tell me, what's the first thing that comes to mind when you hear his name? The Moonwalk, the white glove, plastic surgery, pedophile, or that guy who supposedly died, but conspiracy theorists are still looking for him in Brazil? That's the problem right there. We know everything about Michael Jackson's scandals, but we've forgotten why we're even talking about him. Yet he single-handedly changed pop music. He turned music videos into cinema, and he forced MTV to show black artists. But in the end, Michael became a prisoner of his own image. Today, we'll break down the story of how an ordinary black kid from a working-class ghetto became the white god of pop music, how genius bordered on madness, and how this transformation ultimately killed him. Or didn't it? Spoiler, by the end of this video, you won't know what to think either. Let's go. Chapter 1. The Jackson Family Star Factory. August 29th, 1958. Gary, Indiana. If you don't know what kind of place that is, imagine factory soot crime, the American dream inside out. And in this industrial hole in the Jackson family, the 8th child is born, the 8th Carl. Out of 10 or more, precisely 9, another son didn't live even a day. Let's clarify the context right away. The father, Joseph Jackson, former boxer who didn't make it, dreamed of fame, got a job as a crane operator at a steel mill, played in a local R&B group called the Falcons at night. That didn't take off either. The mother, Catherine, a kind Jehovah's Witness who limped from polio, dreamed of singing country, but instead raised 9 children in a 2-bedroom house on Jackson Street. Yes, seriously, irony of fate, God level. So Joseph looks at this horde of children and thinks, okay, plan B. If he couldn't make it himself, the children could, period. In 1964, he assembles the older sons into a group called the Jackson Brothers. Rehearsals every day, after school, after dinner, instead of games. Mom sews bright costumes, dad trains them. There's no other word for it. But everything changes when 8-year-old Michael joins the group at his mother's insistence. And it immediately becomes clear, the kid isn't just talented, he's special. He was born for the stage. Voice, movement, charisma, the complete package. That's when the Jackson Brothers become the Jackson 5. And here begins Michael's path to success, a stage that would define his entire future life. Chapter 2. First Success and the Price of Fame. Joseph Jackson wasn't just a strict father, he was a tyrant. For the slightest mistake, the belt. For a false note, a slap upside the head. Late for rehearsal. You'll rehearse until morning.
He would lose his temper. I just remember hearing my mother scream, "Joe, you're gonna kill him, you're gonna kill him, stop it, you're gonna kill him," you know, and I was so fast, you know, he couldn't catch me half the time, but when he would catch me, oh my God, it was bad. It was really bad.
But the cruelest thing wasn't even the physical violence. Joseph knew that Michael was self-conscious about his nose. Teenage acne, imperfect appearance, normal problems. So the father started calling his son Big Nose, constantly, in front of his brothers, in front of strangers, like it was some kind of joke.
I was acting. Or was I?
Remember this detail. It explains a lot in the story that follows. And yet, the method worked. The Jackson 5 began actively performing in clubs, participating in talent shows, and winning competitions.
And Marlon Jackson, the dancingest Jackson. And Michael Jackson, the skinniest Jackson.
In 1967, they won Amateur Night at the Apollo. It's like winning The Voice, only cooler. They got noticed. First contract with a local label, first single. In short, things took off. Then, opening acts for legends like James Brown and Gladys Knight. Michael watched, learned, copied moves, and at 10 years old was already moving like a pro with 20 years of experience. In 1969, a miracle happened. The group signed to the much more serious Motown label. Under the patronage of Diana Ross, the Jacksons first appeared on TV and released their debut album. And off they went. The first 4 singles, all #1 on the charts. I Want You Back, ABC, The Love You Save, I'll Be There. This record hasn't been broken to this day. The family moved from Gary to Los Angeles, from a 2-bedroom house to a mansion in Encino. The American dream? Something like that. Only the price of success would turn out to be too high. Chapter 3. Solo and the New Jacksons. In the early 70s, the Jackson 5 were superstars. Cartoons about them played on TV dolls, sat on store shelves, songs played from every radio. But Michael already stood out from the group even then. Brighter, more talented, more charismatic. In 1972, at 13 years old, while remaining in the group, he released his first solo album, Got to Be There. Not a sensation, but very, very good. But the real breakthrough was the song Ben. For those who don't know, this is a composition about a rat from the horror film of the same name. #1 on the charts, Golden Globe Oscar nomination. A 14-year-old kid sings a ballad about friendship with a rodent, and the whole world cries. If that's not talent, then what is? 1975. The Jacksons want to perform their own songs, but Motown somehow thinks this is a bad idea. Dreaming of creative freedom, they move to Epic Records and become simply the Jacksons. Michael is still with his brothers, but it's already clear. He'll achieve more solo. And then a meeting happens that changes everything. Chapter 4. Birth of the King. 1978. Michael plays the Scarecrow in The Wiz, the African-American version of The Wizard of Oz. The film flopped, but during its filming, Jackson met Quincy Jones, legendary producer who worked with Sinatra and Count Basie. Quincy was supposed to just give a couple of tips, but hearing Michael, he realized, this is a diamond that needs to be cut. 1979. Off the Wall comes out, Michael's first adult album. Co-writers include Stevie Wonder, Paul McCartney, and Rod Temperton, and it's a bomb. Don't Stop Till You Get Enough. Rock With You. Hits that still play today. First Grammy, 20 million copies. Michael is already 21. Long-awaited adulthood. He's finally not dependent on his father, but doesn't abandon his brothers, writes songs for the group, produces albums, goes on tours. But it's not enough for him. Off the Wall is success. But Michael doesn't even think about stopping. He wants to become a legend. It's during this time that Michael's first transformation begins. Officially, the first rhinoplasty, consequence of an unfortunate fall during rehearsal. Unofficially, well, how can Big Nose become a legend? And this was just the beginning. The next 3 years, he practically lives in the studio, writes rewrites, throws out, starts over. Quincy later said he was obsessed. Every note had to be perfect. And then on November 30th, 1982, Thriller comes out. From here, we could just show the numbers. More than 66 million copies sold. Guinness record, 7 singles in the top 10. Also a record, 8 Grammys in one evening. That's a record too. But numbers don't convey the main thing. Thriller changed everything. This wasn't just an album. This was a cultural phenomenon. Every song, a hit. Every video, an event. Billie Jean, Beat It, Wanna Be Startin' Something. You know them all, even if you think you don't. Chapter 5. Moment of Glory. March 25th, 1983. Motown 25 show. Michael comes out to perform Billie Jean. Black pants, sequined jacket, white socks, black loafers, and that glove. And then he does it, the moonwalk. This is the moment when a person became an icon, live on air, in front of 50 million Americans. The next day, everyone was trying to repeat it. In schools, on streets, in clubs, everyone was sliding backward, unsuccessfully, because it wasn't about the movement, it was about how he did it. Like gravity didn't affect him. And then the Thriller video came out. 14 minutes. John Landis directs, Rick Baker does makeup. Budget, $500,000. For comparison, a regular video cost $50,000. This wasn't a music video, this was cinema. MTV played Thriller every hour. Video cassettes sold in the millions. And here's an important point. Before Michael, MTV practically didn't show black artists. Not our format, they said. After Thriller, the excuse didn't work. Jackson broke the system. You won't believe this, but Michael almost destroyed Thriller with his own hands. At the time, Jackson was still listed as a Jehovah's Witness, and the elders gave Michael hell. This is pure Satanism, witchcraft, a disgrace to the community. Michael seriously wanted to destroy this legend of pop culture, but the film crew convinced Jackson to release the video with a disclaimer. He doesn't support any occultism. Formally, Jackson remained in the ranks of Jehovah's Witnesses until 2001, but in fact, he began to distance himself from religion back in the late 80s, largely because of this story. By 1984, Michael is the most famous person on the planet, richer and more popular than the president, known in every country. Children want to be like him. Adults want to be with him. He's at the absolute peak. And it's precisely at this moment that everything starts to fall apart. Chapter 6, First Crack and New Face. January 27th, 1984. Pepsi commercial shoot. 6th take. Michael walks down the stairs. Pyrotechnics explode behind him, but something goes wrong. The explosion happens too early. Sparks hit his hair. It catches fire. Michael doesn't understand what's happening at first, continues moving, then feels the heat. Someone from the crew rushes to put it out, but it's too late. 2nd and 3rd degree burns. Skin on his head burned to the skull. Officially, recovered quickly, received compensation which he invested in a burn center, one of his first charitable gestures. Unofficially, this broke him. Several skin graft surgeries, constant pain, insomnia, and the first prescriptions for painkillers. Legal drugs, Demerol, Percodan, Dilaudid, opioids you can't get off. But this is just the beginning. Around the same time, Michael is diagnosed with vitiligo, an autoimmune disease where skin loses pigment in patches. For an ordinary person, a cosmetic defect. For a superstar living under spotlights, catastrophe. And then lupus too. Inflammation, hair loss, sensitivity to sunlight. Michael starts wearing wigs, hiding under umbrellas, smearing himself with tons of makeup. The public decided he just wants to become white, but Michael denied it.
When people make up stories that I don't want to be who I am, it hurts me. It's a problem for me, okay? I can't control it, okay? But what about all the millions of people? Let's reverse it.
Okay.
What about all the millions of people who sit out in the sun to become darker, to become other than what they are? Nobody says nothing about that.
Okay, skin color can be explained by illness and makeup. But what about the face? Michael insisted he said only the nose and chin dimple. Everything else is natural. Instead of honestly telling about interventions, a bunch of excuses, growing up, new hairstyle, stage lighting, vegan diet. The lies were obvious. Photos don't lie. The nose becomes narrower. Lips, thinner cheekbones, higher, chin, sharper. By the mid-80s, Michael Jackson looked like a different person, literally. And all this, obvious signs of body dysmorphic disorder, a mental condition where a person sees defects in themselves that no one else notices. In the 90s, tabloids began openly writing that he turned into a victim of plastic surgery. But Michael stood his ground and sued. The journalist had to apologize for an article claiming Jackson's face was about to fall off. Well, where were they wrong? Chapter 7, Bad Album and Good Intentions. After Thriller, Michael disappeared for 4 years. No interviews, rare appearances. Everyone wondered, what's next? How do you surpass perfection? And then, 1987. Bad. Michael wrote 62 songs. Quincy convinced him to keep 11, each one a potential single. Bad, Dirty Diana, The Way You Make Me Feel, Man in the Mirror, Smooth Criminal, bangers one after another. The title song's video was directed by Scorsese. 18 minutes. Plot about a guy from the ghetto who returns from private school. Autobiographical? Very. Michael was already long since not his own to either blacks or whites. Bad became the first album in history from which 5 singles hit #1, more than Thriller. The world tour collected $125 million. Record again. But everyone compared it to Thriller, and Bad only lost in one thing: it wasn't first. The magic of discovery was gone. Meanwhile, Michael does charity like he's obsessed. In 1985, he writes We Are the World, gathers 45 stars to help Africa, $50 million, then donates large sums to fight AIDS and cancer, helps terminally ill children, poor families, puts his things up for charity auctions, and gives out free concert tickets. Why? Redemption? Trying to buy love? Or just a good person with money? You choose. In 1988, Michael buys a ranch in California for $17 million and turns it into Neverland, named after the fantasy place from the Peter Pan story. Amusement park, zoo, movie theater, railroad, paradise for children. I just want to give them what I didn't have, he says. Sounds sweet, but an adult man who builds a children's park and is constantly surrounded by other people's children. Well, you get it, a time bomb. Chapter 8: The King and His Shadows. In 1989, it became official. Michael is the Pop King. This title was publicly given to him by none other than Elizabeth Taylor herself, calling him the true king of pop, rock, and soul. No one argued and the numbers matched. The best-selling artist of the 80s. As they say, he earned it. By 1990, the facial transformation is complete. Look at photos of Michael from 1980 and 1990. These are 2 different people, and he'll continue redoing his nose almost until his death. Big Nose became a curse. In 1991, Dangerous comes out. Michael breaks with Quincy Jones, produces himself, experiments with hip-hop, industrial rock. Black or White, a message about racial equality from a guy who went from black to white. Ultimate Irony. The video again changes the rules of the game. Face morphing of different races. Technology that everyone will steal later. But the ending, Michael smashing cars and windows, gets cut. Too aggressive for the king of pop. And here begins the descent into hell. 1992. Michael's car breaks down. He goes to a car rental, and the owner immediately calls his wife. Well, it's a sin not to meet Jackson himself. And now Michael is hanging out with June Chandler and her son, 12-year-old Jordan, who is a total Michael fan. The idol from posters becomes a family friend, takes them around the world, showers them with gifts, especially Jordan. The boy regularly sleeps over at Neverland, in Michael's bedroom, in the same bed. Nothing like that, says Jackson. We're just friends. Yeah, a 34-year-old man and a 12-year-old boy, just friends, who sleep in the same bed. Normal, right? Chapter 9: Accusations. August 1993. Jordan's father begins to suspect something wrong. After a visit to a psychiatrist, the boy says Michael touched him, kissed him, masturbated in front of him. The bomb explodes. The case goes to police. Media goes crazy. King of Pop, a pedophile, scream the headlines. Michael denies everything. This is extortion. They want money. And indeed, the Chandler family files a civil lawsuit. Not criminal, but civil. That is, they want not justice, but compensation. Meanwhile, other boys, including Wade Robson and James Safechuck, will return to them, say, yeah, we slept in the same bed with Michael, but he didn't touch us. As Robson said, the bed was huge. He was on one end, I was on the other. Really, what's wrong with that? Police don't take their word for it and search Neverland. They find adult movies and that's it. No direct evidence. Then begins the most humiliating part. Michael is forced to strip. They photograph him naked from all angles. Compare with the description Jordan gave. Does it match? Doesn't match. Versions differ. In January 1994, Michael pays the Chandlers. The amount isn't disclosed, but they talk about 20 to 25 million. His lawyers insist it's not an admission of guilt. Michael just doesn't want to litigate for years. In the end, the case is closed due to lack of evidence. Who used whom? Unclear, but the residue remained. Chapter 10. Attempt at Normalcy. Against the backdrop of scandal, Michael makes an unexpected move. He marries Lisa Marie Presley. Yes, Elvis's daughter. They'd known each other since childhood, but got close during the crisis. Wedding in May 1994. Quiet, without press. Lisa believes in his innocence, defends him publicly. The marriage lasted less than 2 years, but they parted without drama, as friends. That happens too. In 1995, History comes out. Double album. Old hits and new songs. Scream. Duet with Sister Janet. Direct message to haters. Most expensive video in history. $7 million. They Don't Care About Us. Angry song about injustice. Michael in hate everyone mode. Sales are decent but not thriller. And not bad. The magic is leaving. In 1996, a new turn. Michael marries Debbie Rowe, his dermatologist nurse. A year later, a son is born, Prince. 2 years later, daughter Paris. In 2000, divorce. Children stay with Michael. Everyone understands. This isn't love. This is a contract. Michael wanted children. Debbie agreed to give birth. Business, nothing more. Chapter 11. The Fall Continues. 2001. Invincible, last album released during his lifetime. $30 million for production. Failure by Michael's standards. Sony doesn't want to promote it. Michael accuses the label of racism, organizes protests, and looks like a paranoid. But is he paranoid? By this point, Michael's debts are hundreds of millions. Neverland eats millions per year. Charity parasite friends crazy spending. He's still earning, but spending more. 2002. Second son is born. Prince Tico. Surrogate mother name unknown. Michael shows the baby from a hotel balcony in Berlin, holds him over the abyss. A few seconds, but that's enough. Michael has completely lost it. 2003. Martin Bashir films documentary Living with Michael Jackson. Michael thinks rehabilitation. Turns out, new scandal.
Children from other families have come and they've stayed in your house. They've stayed in your bedroom.
Well, very few.
But, some have. And they say, is that really appropriate for a man, a grown man, to be doing that?
Why can't you share your bed? The most loving thing to do is to share your bed with someone.
Bashir presents this as a confession. New investigation, new accusations, new arrest. Chapter 12. Trial of the Century. 2005. Trial. Michael faces 20 years in prison, 14 counts. Child molestation, giving alcohol to minors, false imprisonment. The process turns into a circus. Michael comes in pajamas, is late, looks like a zombie, lost weight to skeleton state, obviously on pills. Prosecution brings witnesses. Former employees tell nasty stories. But it turns out, many of them were paid by tabloids for stories. The dirtier, the more expensive. Defense brings Macaulay Culkin. Nothing happened. We're friends. Brings Wade Robson. Michael never touched me. James Safechuck. All lies. June 13th, 2005. Verdict. Not guilty. On all counts. Michael cries. Fans rejoice. Critics say, bought his way out. After the trial, Michael disappears. Goes to Bahrain, then Ireland. Neverland closed. Career over. Debts growing. Health shot. No friends. Only children and pills. Chapter 13. Final Act. 2009. Michael announces his return. This is it. 50 concerts in London. Final performances. Tickets sell out in hours. 1 million people want to see the King, but the King isn't the same. 50 years old, 48 kilograms weight. Can't sleep without propofol. Surgical anesthetic. Personal cardiologist Conrad Murray injects him with this shit every night. $150,000 per month for dealer-doctor services. Rehearsals are tough. Michael is sometimes in shape, sometimes can't even stand. Organizers are nervous. $400 million in investments. If concerts don't happen, collapse. June 24th, last rehearsal. According to witnesses, Michael was in great form. Thriller, Billie Jean, like in his youth. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. The show will go on. June 25th, 1:30 a.m. Michael returns home, can't fall asleep. Murray gives propofol injection. Normal dose, increased, versions differ. Around 11 a.m., Murray discovers Michael isn't breathing. And here begins the strange part. Instead of immediately calling 911, the doctor tries to resuscitate alone, with one hand on a soft bed. Medical absurdity. Calls the bodyguard. Then someone else. Only after more than an hour calls ambulance. Why? Hiding evidence? Panicking? Medics arrive at 12:24. They try to resuscitate Jackson on the way and in the hospital, unsuccessfully. At 2:26 p.m., they pronounce death. According to autopsy results, no signs of violence or serious illness. Official cause of death, propofol overdose. Conrad Murray is found guilty of involuntary manslaughter, gets 4 years, serves 2. Doesn't admit guilt and believes Michael injected the lethal dose himself, wanted to leave life. Chapter 14. New Accusations. New Scandals. 2013. Wade Robson, the same one who for 20 years insisted he and Michael were just friends, suddenly declares, "Actually, yes, he touched me, from 7 to 14 years old." The public is sure, wants compensation. But Robson doesn't give up. Says he used to protect Michael because he was in a psychological trap, couldn't betray his idol, but now understands he would kill anyone who did this to his own child. A year later, James Safechuck speaks out similarly. Cases are reviewed, but ultimately rejected. No one believes people who their entire conscious lives stubbornly defended Jackson. But the guys decided to unite. In 2019, HBO releases After Neverland, a 4-hour documentary, after which viewers didn't know what to think. Robson and Safechuck tell everything in minute detail. How Michael first showered them with gifts, then intimidated them. Demanded they keep their special relationship secret. How he spent every night with them, then changed them for new favorites. Their memories are too vivid and precise, as if it happened yesterday. Too strange. The Jacksons continue to insist Michael is innocent, period, and sue the channel for slander. Court sides with them. But what is this? Sincere confessions? Or another attempt to make money? Everyone decides for themselves. But it's not just Michael's bright memory that worries his relatives. According to the will, his mother was appointed guardian of his children and administrator of the family foundation. Michael's famous pet, chimpanzee Bubbles, received $2 million. Large sums went to charity. But the father, brother, sisters, and Debbie Rowe got not a cent. Naturally, this arrangement doesn't suit them. Relatives still occasionally litigate, trying to contest the allegedly unfair and illegal will. Meanwhile, Jackson's estate continues to grow rapidly, about $100 million each year, making him one of the richest dead artists. But did Michael die? Chapter 15. Conspiracy theories. After Michael's death, a wave of grief swept the world. Fans, tears, video marathons on TV covers, from stars' candles by portraits. And on September 3rd, 2009, at Forest Lawn Cemetery in Los Angeles, suburbs, quiet funeral, only the closest, and closed casket. That's when it all began. Conspiracy theories, mysteries, contradictions. Some are sure Jackson didn't die by accident. Others, that he didn't die at all. First, inconsistency. TMZ website reports Michael's death earlier than the hospital does. How? Where's the info from? The ambulance has tinted windows. How did a photographer take such a clear shot? And why only one? Michael is resuscitated for more than an hour. But wig and makeup, in place. How? After cardiac arrest, skin turns blue, but in photos he looks alive, some kind of setup. And why is Michael taken to hospital without sirens, and they calmly let a tourist bus pass? Is that how you save someone in critical condition? And when Jackson's body is transported from the morgue, it suddenly starts moving. What about rigor mortis? And in coroner's reports, there's complete nonsense. Michael, it turns out, was bald with a deformed face and broken nose. But in photos, everything's fine. Besides, the Jacksons claim they refused an open casket precisely because of these injuries. Or maybe because no one was there. But that's not all. On the day of death, all of Michael's staff was fired. And on June 27th, his family took even bedding from the house. And this despite investigation starting only on the 28th. And Murray was hired just 11 days before the tragedy. Though Michael had no heart problems, why does he need a personal cardiologist, moreover, with dubious past and debts? And neither Murray nor doctors in the coroner's office signed Michael Jackson's death certificate. Why? Family behavior is a separate topic. Joseph Jackson gives interviews and promotes his label like nothing happened, and Catherine goes shopping the next day. Somehow, not particularly sad. 6 months before the tragedy, media kept repeating, Michael is dying, going blind, lungs failing. But suddenly, announcement of big comeback. Jackson repeatedly faked illnesses for attention. If he staged illnesses, why couldn't he stage death? And the ghost at Neverland once caught on camera. Maybe it's not a ghost. Michael takes out insurance in case of sudden death. Debts, $500 million. Mysterious insurance. Solution to all problems. Very convenient, isn't it? And at the end of 2024, new conspiracy surfaces on social media. P. Diddy, yes, him again. This time, guilty of Michael's death. Theories go into outer space. First, secret tunnel between rappers and pop kings' houses. Quickly turned out to be fake, but who cared? Then, new leads. J. Cole's track, She Knows, came out back in 2013.
She knows. She knows.
In lyrics, not just Michael, but also Aaliyah and Lisa, Left Eye, Lopez. They all died on the 25th, somehow suspicious. There's a version that P. Diddy and Jay-Z helped Beyonce get rid of competitors. How does Beyonce fit in? The title, She Knows, sounds like her real last name, Knowles. So Jackson was one of those very competitors. Well, according to armchair conspiracy theorists. There's no evidence though, at least not yet. Maybe Michael was just tired of fame, of debts, of misunderstanding, of media attacks. Maybe he really disappeared. Or maybe all these theories are just unwillingness to accept the stupid death of an idol. Hope that one day he'll return and perform Billie Jean again. So who was Michael Jackson? Victim or criminal? Genius or madman? Did he really die or just stage his death? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget the like, subscribe, and bell. See you in new videos.